It's that time again. It's that time where I get talk about the Universal monsters. Why? Because it's my channel. That's why. So, um, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Universal Monster comics. Now, as of this recording, the Invisible Man trade from James Tynion hasn't come out. Won't be out till next month, and the other thing is they have announced that they are in production for The Wolfman and Bride of Frankenstein. So those comics are coming. To the shock of no one, obviously Wolfman and Bride of Frankenstein are going to be coming to Skybound and doing that. I mean, obviously. These things have been, from what I've seen of the sales, they've been selling well. Not like top 10 in Image's catalog, but they are selling well enough to make them want to keep going. So as I was reading a back issue of Phantom of the Opera, which I did read the first issue, I didn't buy it, but I did read because I'm waiting for trade on Phantom, which if these trade collections are meant or anything, it's that trade ain't coming out till November, which that kind of sucks because that first issue was pretty solid. But there was a Q&A in the back of the issue. And in that one of the Q&As, someone asked, I know you guys are doing all the main Universal monsters, but is there a chance that you guys are going to go outside of the wheelhouse, like with the Mole People or This Island Earth or Tarantula? Like, it's such a broad spectrum. And I guess the head of the editorial for the Universal monsters, I guess you could call them that, basically went, we don't really have plans for it, but we also don't have any plans to cancel the line yet. So that basically tells me they probably want, once they get through Wolfman and Bride, it's probably either going to be Universal pulls the license because you've done all of them, or they're like, well, you're selling well enough. How about you just keep going with more comics? It's either going to be that. It's either going to be one of those two options. There's no in between. Now, as for what that could mean for the Universal Monster line at Image Comics, let's say hypothetically we do get through, Bride and Wolfman are, because they are the last two that haven't gotten comics yet. Those two are done, and Universal basically says, yeah, you can keep going. So now we come into the part where what others fall under that line? Well, obviously, one that comes to mind that would probably fit in, well, technically to three, actually. I'll get to all three in a moment. But essentially, there are three monsters you could theoretically do right out the gate with the expanded line after you finish the main cast of the Universal monsters. Those being the Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Werewolf of London, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Because Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde has always been tangentially connected, same with Quasimodo. Werewolf of London is a interesting one because that's more of a cult one than anything else. But I will say that I think people forget that Werewolf of London was Universal's first werewolf movie, like 10 years before The Wolfman. It's just not as popularly known. It wasn't. It's not exactly a well-remembered one or well-liked. I think it's fine. It's just more. Like Jack Pierce got really screwed over by the main actor who played the werewolf, so it was more of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. I know, when it comes to the Hunchback of Notre Dame, that one I don't consider a Universal monster. The whole point of it is that he's not one of the Universal monsters, okay? So I feel like for that one, the Universal, that one though, Universal could easily say, yeah, you can do Hunchback, but they might not because that's public domain, That movie's, while it was Universal, it's public domain. Same reason as to why they're doing Claude Rains' Phantom and not Lon Chaney's, even though it's very clear Universal has more love for that movie. These days, Universal really wants to reference more of Lon Chaney's Phantom than Claude's. No disrespect to Claude Rains himself. It's just that movie is not really what I consider a Universal monster up to par with the Universal monster movies, as opposed to Claude Rains's. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my thinking. Is that's probably like that one might be a little difficult, and why that's not in the cycle right now is because that one Hunchback is in public domain. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that movie is also the one Universal did is under that, but they could easily do something along the lines of a Universal monster movie. I mean, Universal monster comic, where it's more in line with what they did with Halloween Horror Nights. They could use that version for this story and maybe build, or the one they're kind of hinting a lot in Dark Universe. That could be the case. In fact, they could just do, now that I think about it, they could, honest to God, do a full-on, and I'm not joking here when I say this, they could easily, Universal could be like, hey, can you do, we're really trying to pimp out this Dark Universe thing. Can you do a Dark Universe ongoing? That I could honestly see them doing, since we're getting a TV show, the Epic Universe land is probably one of the most popular areas in Epic Universe. I could easily see Universal being like, all right, we're going to let you do a Dark Universe comic, and we will be selling it not just in comic stores, but we'll also use it as merchandise in our parks. I feel like that's exactly what would happen. Now, what the theme would it be more horror-driven? Would it be more action horror? I can't really say, but I would guarantee you that that's probably in talks at some, like they were considering it at some point, at the very least. I don't know if they'd go ahead with it, but who knows? Now, as for other monsters, I could see getting the Universal tagline, like the Universal comic tagline over at Image. I think it would be rather interesting if we did do like the other monsters that were kind of tangentially connected to Universal monsters during the 90s, because there was a whole thing of like they weren't really promoting the Phantom to be part of their group. It was more like it was the main cast, maybe sometimes the Invisible Man, and other times it was like the Metalunan from This Island Earth, or the Mole People. Yeah, it was more like that. So This Island Earth would be a pretty interesting comic. Same with the Mole People. Those are I think those would be kind of cool as a Mole People comic would be pretty cool. I think also Tarantula would be. I would love to see them do their giant bug movies, especially Tarantula and the Deadly Mantis. I think you could do something really cool with those kind of storyline with those comics. For others, see those are like, you see those ones I do think of a lot when it comes to those like tangentially connected to the Universal monsters. But I would say like maybe we could do something interesting, like maybe Van Helsing. Yeah, Van Helsing comic would not be I think that would be pretty solid. That way you can do your action horror stuff. Although I don't know if you'd have to get like licensing to look like Hugh Jackman, but we could just dance around that with the art. But who knows? The Brendan Fraser mummy would be interesting. Again, they'd probably want to like do a comic to, if this deal continues, they'll probably want a comic to like hype up the Mummy 4. I'm just like really blue skying here on this one. But yeah. So those are just a few ideas, honestly, I had for the Universal Monster comics. I would say if they continue after Bride, and because that's going to depend on more after Bride and Wolfman, if Universal is going to let them keep the license or let them keep going. I think it would also be kind of cool, real quick. I think it would be rather interesting if they kept the comic going and did the other sequel characters. Like, what if they did comics around Kares or Alucard or Dracula's daughter? Or maybe we could do a comic that's a sequel to Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman that builds up to House of Frankenstein. Or we do a House of Frankenstein comic. Or we do a comic centered around one of the Invisible Man sequels. There's a lot of we all talk about the main movies, but there's actually like a few good sequels we could actually like really pull from for material. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below, what would you like to see out of the Universal Monster comics going forward from Image? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.